Hey guys, this is 𝐄𝐝𝐻 from Edureka. Welcome to today's session on principles of management. Now, before we start the topic, let's just go through today's agenda. First, we start with what management actually is, followed by why do we need principles of management, followed by what the principles of management actually are, and we end it with a conclusion. And also, if you like our video, please do subscribe to the Edureka channel, hit the bell icon for notifications, and if you're looking for a PMP certification, please check the link in the comments below. Right. So we start with what management actually is, right? So what is management? Now, management is the process of planning and organizing various resources of a business organization so as to achieve their tasks in the most effective and efficient way. Now, every organization wants to be effective and efficient. That is what runs the company, right? So, way of planning and organizing things in a company is known as management. Now, the efficiency refers to the completion of tasks at minimal cost. So, the more amount of money you use, the less efficient the work is. Efficiency always deals with the lesser amount of money that you can use so that you can minimize costs for the company as well. And effectiveness refers to the completion of tasks within a specific timeline that yields proper results. So this is basically what management is. Now next we come to why do we need principles of management. Now the basic reason why we need principles of management is because that if you follow the principles of management, it basically will improve your understanding of how the organization management works. For people who want to be managers, it gives them a clear overview of what actions and tasks the managers do, followed by the role of management skills in a company is much more clearer if you basically follow these principles of management. And finally, it is a guide to the research in management. So basically, there are certain principles which you can implement, right? So these principles are basically things that you implement, and you can always choose to be better and more efficient. So if you do some certain research on the already existing principles that are there in the organization and try to improve them, then maybe you can have a better business agility of your organization overall. These are the reasons why we need principles of management. Next, we come to the main topic, that is, what are the principles of management? So Henry Fayol is considered as the father of management. So he stated 14 principles of management which have been identified to basically nurture the skills to manage well in an organization. Now these management principles are as follows, and let's take a look at them. The first principle that Henry Fayol has is the division of labor. Now in any organization, work of all kinds should be divided and then subdivided and allotted to various people depending on their skill set. So you cannot just assign random tasks to anybody who's not good at something. So you'll always have to divide the skills depending on the skill set of the person that is there. So this makes the work much more simpler and much more efficient because the person who is doing the work knows what he's doing, and this basically improves the performance and the accuracy of the individual himself as well. Second up, we have the authority and responsibility. So here, authority and responsibility are coexisting in nature in an organization. Now, if the authority is given to one person, then he or she should also be responsible as well. Now, authority refers to the right of the superiors to get a certain level of exactness from their subordinates. Now, authority here means that the superior can expect a certain level of perfection in the tasks that their subordinates do, and that is why authority is necessary. Authority without responsibility, although, leads to irresponsible behavior, because if you're not responsible and you're only authoritative, that is not a very good environment to work in. So responsibility without authority makes you ineffective, so you need to keep both in tandem. Next up, we have unity of command. Now, this basically means that a subordinate should always receive orders from one and one boss only. So, if you have too many people that you are reporting your tasks to, that is very confusing for both the managers and the subordinates as well. So, receiving orders can lead to confusion. Now, unity of command is basically used because of the creation of harmonious relationships among the superiors and the subordinates in the organization, so that it's easier. The entire process of doing tasks and the communication between the managers and the subordinates is clear and the relationship is harmonious. Next up, we have unity of direction. So basically, what this means is that there is one head, one plan. So basically, one plan for a group of activities having similar objective. So even if there are different teams doing different activities, if the objective of these activities that both these teams are doing are similar, then they have to work in tandem. So efforts of all the members of the organization should be towards one common goal. So unity of command is also not possible without unity of direction. That is because if there is no unity of direction, then they are not striving towards one common goal. And that is why there is no communication between the subordinates and the management. Next up, we have equity. Now, what does equity mean? Equity is a combination of fairness, kindness, and justice. So, these are all very important things when it comes to an organization, right? Employees should be treated with kindness and equality if devotion is expected out of them. Now, when you expect some people to work for you, the first and the only thing that you should do is treat them with kindness. If that does not happen, then the level of performance goes down, the effectiveness goes down, and that is not good for the company. So managers should always be fair and impartial when dealing with subordinates. Although that does not mean that there is a complete absence of harshness, that depends on the kind of work the employees are doing, but there is always a combination of fairness and kindness when it comes to equity. Next up, we have order. Now, order is basically concerned with the systematic arrangement of people and resources that are there in the organization. The arrangement of things is called the material order, and the arrangement of people is called the social order. Now, employees in an organization are expected to keep social order at all points of time, as well as the resources are also supposed to be in material order at all points of time. So social order basically means that the most suitable person for a particular job has to always be appointed by the managers. So you have to know the subordinate skill set properly so to make them work properly, and they have to be suitable for the task that the management gives them. Next up, we have discipline. Now, discipline is something which is important in all fields of life as well as in organizational management. Now, discipline basically deals with the sincerity, obedience, and the respect of the authority that is there in the organization. So, this is an important requisite for smooth running of the organization. So discipline is an important requisite for the smooth running of the organization. If there is no discipline, there will be no smooth functioning of the organization and it leads to pandemonium. And that is very unacceptable for any organization. And discipline can be enforced if there is a there are good superiors at all levels and there is a clear and fair agreement between the workers. So that is why discipline is very important. Now, if there is a clash between the management and the subordinates, or let's say two or three subordinates, there is a lack of discipline because the ideas don't match. Now that has to match because you're working towards the similar goal. So all of these are actually intertwined. Next up, we have initiative. Now, initiative means that workers should be encouraged to take initiative in the work that they are assigned, right? So, the eagerness to take an action without being told to do so is basically initiative, right? So, how well can you do it? And the fact that a subordinate or anybody in the organization taking initiative to do something, to do a task is always well appreciated, right? So it helps in developing an atmosphere of trust and understanding because people know what they're doing and basically help each other in achieving the goals, right? So basically, initiative can always be encouraged in employees with monetary or non-monetary incentives. That can be anything really. And let's talk about fair remuneration. Now, this is very important. So the method of remuneration that you are paid by or the amount of money that you get should always be fair, reasonable, and satisfactory as well as rewarding for your efforts, right? No subordinate, no employee wants to work where they are not appreciated, and it's not the salary and the remuneration that they get is not feasible or reasonable at all. So wages should be decided on the cost of living, the work that has been assigned, the financial position of the business as well, right? Now, logical wage rates and methods of payment always reduces the tension between the workers and the management, because there's always a fair, reasonable wage that they are paid. Now, the next thing we come to is stability of tenure. Now, employees should not be moved frequently from one job to the other, because this basically does is that it reduces the effectiveness and the efficiency of the person that is working, right? So there should always be a period of service that should be fixed at all times. Time is extremely important for an employee to get used to his surroundings and the work that they do to succeed and do it well. So moving from one assignment to the other is not a very stable thing to do. So stability of tenure is very, very important when it comes to principles of management. Now, this basically creates team spirit and a sense of belonging if one person has stability of tenure, because he is basically doing what he does best and he knows his environment. Next up, we have scalar chain. Now, this means that the chain of superiors ranging from the highest to the lowest in an organization. Every order, message, and instruction has to pass through this chain of superior managers. So there is an arrangement called gangplank, which is basically a temporary arrangement between 2 points in an organization to facilitate quick and easy communication. Now, every organization has different levels. So, in every organization, there should be different levels where the communication and where the communication is easy and quick to facilitate. So, Gangplank clarifies that management principles are not rigid at all. Next up, we have subordination of individual interests to general interests. Now, what this means is that in an organization, any employee is not bigger than the organization. The organization is much bigger than the individual. Is because of that it consists of the interest of the organization that has to prevail over the individual interests that are there. Now, in case of conflict, the individual must sacrifice his or her interests for the organization's interest so that they can achieve that common goal and improve business agility. So, the employee should always be honest and there should be a proper supervision of work, because of the fact that we are working towards a common goal and it is easier to supervise when everybody is working in tandem. So, it is always the company which is put forward more than the individual. Next, we have esprit de corps. This basically means the team spirit or the harmony in the work group. Now, this is very important when it comes to organizations, because of the fact that any team working together has to have people who agree to what they say. So, this basically inspires workers to work harder. Now, the division of employees into separate groups which are competing with each other will basically reduce morale and it may damage the interest in the undertaking in the long run. That is something that is absolutely a big no-no when it comes to management. You cannot have two separate teams competing with each other, working towards the same goal, because at the end of the day, the organization has one goal which it strives to achieve, right? The subordinates should always be encouraged to build informal relationships among themselves, because it is easier that way to basically communicate with one another. Next up, we have centralization and decentralization. Now, concentration of authority at the very top level of the organization is called centralization. Decentralization means that the disposal of decision-making capacity and authority at all levels of the organization is called decentralization. Now, the degree of centralization or decentralization depends on factors like the size of the business, the experience of the superiors, and the dependability of the subordinates as well. Finally, we have conclusion. As everybody knows, this is Mark Zuckerberg and this is Tim Cook, two of the richest CEOs in the world, who run two of the biggest companies in the world, and they absolutely follow these principles of management, because if they did not, their organizations would not be so well to do at this point of time. And if they can do it, so can you. With this, I end today's session and thank you very much. Have a nice day.
I hope you have enjoyed listening to this video. Please be kind enough to like it, and you can comment any of your doubts and queries, and we will reply them at the earliest. Do look out for more videos in our playlist and subscribe to Edureka channel to learn more. Happy learning!